US President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to 37 charges relating to the illegal retention of classified documents at his Florida estate. Ukrainian forces are making steady gains and apparent military setbacks in their counter-offensive along the Donetsk and Zaporizhia front lines. Italy mourns the death of former Premier Silvio Berlusconi, while preparations for his state funeral in Milan on Wednesday are underway. Amid high drama and a media frenzy, Donald Trump has made his first appearance in court on charges relating to the mishandling of classified documents. The ex-president has denied all 37 counts accusing him of willfully retaining top-secret official papers and then trying to hide them at his Florida home. During the proceedings, supporters and opponents maintained a noisy presence under tight security. Trump was released on bail, but prosecutors told the judge they did not believe him to be a flight risk. Ukraine says it's making slow but steady progress in its push against Russian forces, but it's tough going. Its soldiers appear to have retaken the Donetsk village of Mararivka, the latest in a string of gains across the region. Analysts say these small breakthroughs could allow Ukraine to build a platform for a wider thrust into Russian-held territory. For residents still living in frontline areas, the recent escalation has brought more hardship and fear.
Нету ни света, ни интернета. Вот что вам скажут? Вот приезжают, вот вы приехали, сказали, что началось контрнаступление. Кто-то приехал, тоже говорит, просто началось контрнаступление. А мы, чтобы ходить, так вот, спрашиваем, ну что, началось? Как-то неэтично.
In the past week, Kyiv has stepped up efforts from several directions. However, it has not yet dispatched the main counter-offensive force that it's been building for months. And there have been apparent setbacks for President Zelensky's military. Russia's defence ministry has released video footage of what it claims are Russian troops repelling a Ukrainian assault in Donetsk. Elsewhere, the recent destruction of several Western tanks and military vehicles is seen as a propaganda coup for the Kremlin.
Vladimir Putin has said Russia lacks high-precision ammunition, communications equipment and drones. In an uncharacteristically candid meeting, the Russian president said we have them, but unfortunately not in sufficient quantity. He also acknowledged Russia could have better prepared for drone attacks from Ukraine on its territory.
Условно, ничего хорошего в этом нет, но в принципе можно было бы это предположить, что противник вести будет все таким образом. И можно было бы, наверное, лучше подготовить, согласен. Но проблема будет решена.
But Putin also described recent Ukrainian losses as catastrophic and claimed Kyiv had lost close to a third of its Western military equipment.
Они за это время потеряли свыше 160 танков и свыше 360 бронемашин разного типа. Это только то, что мы видим. По моим подсчетам, это примерно 25, а может быть 30% от объема той техники, которая была поставлена из-за рубежа. Он говорит, все призывники. У меня нет мобилизованных вообще.
The death toll from the collapse of the Ukrainian Kakhovka dam 1 week ago continues to rise. Russian authorities report that 17 people are dead on the Russian-controlled side, while 10 are dead on the Ukrainian side, with many more still missing.
Хоч там, а вони ж угробили наші посівні землі, тварі оці. Угробили. Посівні землі всі угробили. Це год 10, воно нічого не буде рости. Екологічна община, екологія нарушена.
Yuri, a 56-year-old farmer, now walks around his village of Afaniskivivka with water up to his neck. He too is also writing off the harvest.
Ну, государство, если может, то поможет. А если не может, то хоть сказать солдатам нашим помогай, чтобы быстрее их доебнули нахуй.
On the Ukrainian side, doctors working for the Israeli-Ukrainian humanitarian organization FRIDA have provided medical assistance to more than 900 patients.
Большинство людей были просто замучены. Это очень взрослые люди, 90+, 80+, которые последние несколько часов их жизни, эвакуация через окна сложные, через речку, дали о себе знать.
Russia and Ukraine have blamed each other for the blowing up of the dam, which has left the Dnipro River at Zaporizhia in ruins. Kyiv also claims that Russian troops are looting evacuated villages.
After months at a standstill, the EU is taking an important step towards improving the working conditions of platform workers. On Monday, the bloc's Labour ministers reached an agreement that could eventually grant drivers and delivery riders a certain number of rights. The deal, if finalised, would establish that platform and gig workers must fulfil 3 out of 7 criteria in order to be considered employees. These include the ability to fix the amount of money for a ride, turning down work, or choosing their own appearance. If they're considered employees, they'll be entitled to labour rights like paid holiday and sick leave.
Se nós se machucar, se acontecer algum acidente, eles não fazem nada.
The agreement also reduces the power of algorithms that the platforms use to distribute tasks and preferences in the allocation of time slots. But 5 countries, including Germany and Spain, say it's not ambitious enough and hope that during the next steps, which are the negotiations with the European Parliament, push the agreement forward. And unions share the same view.
It's for sure less ambitious because it's discussing about putting extra hurdles with with 3 criteria and not 2 criteria. It's also discussing about the possibility to have national derogations. So it's not taking the first principle of the objective of the Commission proposal is granting the rights of workers that they deserve.
The battle and intense lobbying by companies like Uber is only set to continue, as they still believe the text does not give them enough certainty. Strengthening a strategic partnership, the aim of European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen as she continues her trip through Latin America with a stopover in Argentina on Tuesday. Given the changing geopolitical environment, the EU sees the continent as an increasingly important ally. In Buenos Aires, von der Leyen and Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez signed a memorandum of understanding on stronger cooperation in relation to sustainable raw materials. Another focus of her visit was the conclusion of the long-delayed trade agreement between the EU and Mercosur countries. Speaking alongside Brazilian President Lula da Silva on Monday, von der Leyen urged all parties to speed up talks.
We both believe that it is now the time to conclude the EU-Mercosur agreement. We have the ambition, the 2 of us, to get it done as soon as possible, the latest by the end of the year.
The deal between the EU and Mercosur bloc, made up of Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay and Paraguay, has been in the making for over 2 decades now. In March, the EU sent a letter to them seeking to establish stricter environmental requirements for South American countries in order to convince European nations to ratify the deal. But Brazil seems to resent these 11th-hour changes and are wary of possible European sanctions.
A premissa que deve existir entre parceiros estratégicos é a da confiança mútua e não de desconfiança e sanções.
The letter from March doesn't explicitly mention sanctions, but rather proposes to make mandatory some of the environmental goals established by the 2015 Paris Agreement. At least 3 EU countries are already threatening not to ratify the trade deal without stricter climate requirements. Nonetheless, analysts are optimistic.
Debemos recordar, sin embargo, que el comercio entre los países de la Unión Europea y los de Mercosur a lo largo de estos últimos 20 años se ha incrementado aún sin acuerdo. No hay una dificultad estratégica que esté signada por la ausencia de voluntad política.
Von der Leyen will continue her trip through Latin America, heading to Chile and Mexico next. As far as the Mercosur trade agreement is concerned, negotiators from both sides are scheduled to meet at the end of the month.
A solemn tribute from both allies and opponents. The Italian Senate has paid its respects to the late Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi with a moment of silence. As divisive as he was, the media tycoon was Italy's longest-serving premier, and politicians came together to honour him. With mourning continuing inside his Milan residence, supporters have maintained a vigil outside, laying flowers and offering prayers.
Uno spirito, una grinta che aveva, che dimostrava in tutte le cose dove provava ad entrare, dalla televisione al calcio alla politica.
Preparations are being finalised ahead of Wednesday's state funeral in Milan's impressive Duomo. The number of mourners participating directly has been limited to 2,000, but many more will be present in the surrounding area. Millions are expected to tune in for a live TV broadcast from within Italy and beyond. The founder of Italy's Forza Italia party died on Monday, aged 86.
These were the first images of the 4 indigenous children who were rescued after surviving 40 days alone in the Colombian jungle. Aged between 1 and 13, they're the only survivors of a plane crash in the Amazon region, infested with gorillas, wild animals and poisonous plants. Tragically, they say their mothers survived the accident for just 4 days. Found last Friday, they were airlifted out of the jungle and taken to a military hospital in the nation's capital, Bogotá. Welcomed by their father, they're now the focus of a custody battle between him and their mother's family.
Los niños tienen que estar en un contexto protector, de cuidado, de amor, para que puedan recobrar su salud, recuperarse, y ahí en adelante vemos cuáles serían las medidas que adopte la defensora de familia.
For now, they will recover in hospital, during which time the Child Protection Agency will determine who should care for them. Their maternal grandparents say it was the children's knowledge of which fruit and seeds in the jungle are edible that was key to their survival.